All right, good morning, everyone. 48 First Alert Meteorologist Eric Burke alongside First Alert Meteorologist Jeff Desnoyers. Today, Tuesday, is a 48 First Alert weather day, and this is going to be kind of a higher end wind event for us here in the Tennessee Valley. Severe weather already happening this morning out in parts of East Texas, and that's going to continue to track through Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and eventually by later this evening, we're going to have some strong to severe storms of our own. Primary concern being damaging straight line winds, but there's more coming before we get to the main event tonight.
Yeah, trying to explain that over the weekend was, okay, boom, you got these thunderstorms coming in at night and they're going to blow things around and enhance the winds. But before those storms get here, we already have winds happening now, and they're going to be strong through the afternoon, even before you even have a drop of rainfall at your house. And that's going to be something like, well, where's the thunderstorms? It's awfully windy.
Yeah.
You know, but they're coming, but they're just going to be delayed behind that first push of wind.
Yeah, to use one of your terms here, kind of a 1-2 punch. So we have the general gradient winds that we're currently dealing with. Those will continue to ramp up and intensify through the rest of the afternoon into the evening. You'll be on Tennessee Valley Living as well as our newscast at noon with the latest on that. And then we focus on the storm-related wind gusts that could be severe in nature later tonight. But with the amount of wind that we're seeing, this is just a good opportunity. If you're by a phone charger at some point through the day, maybe just try and keep those mobile devices charged up in case we do see power outages. And those power outages could realistically happen before we even see any storms showing up on the radar too. And we could see some trees down across the area. And I think with pretty reasonable confidence that we'll probably see some people without power this evening as that line of storms moves in.
It's a larger area too. You know, so many times we talk about like spin-up tornadoes and how one town gets rocked with a tornado, right? This is going to be different. This is going to be something, and we can't remember the day we covered it, but there was this long line of rain and wind that moved through the Tennessee Valley, and the number of reported damages were really high. And that can happen tonight where you have this large area that is going to get hit with these damaging winds. It doesn't matter if they're tornado winds or if they're coming straight line winds, they still can cause damage. And I think that's what's going to end up happening tonight. I think once the ball starts to get rolling, after these storms start to really intensify after about 6 o'clock and enhance those winds, I think the damage reports are going to go way up tonight.
Yeah, we've got a stellar timeline for storm arrival for everyone. We've got a lot to cover, but you mentioned that wind event, how narrow that band was on the radar, and it was just a big wall of wind and rain essentially coming. We could realistically see that play out here this evening, and a lot of the high-resolution models are showing that narrow little band. So we're going to get to some graphics here, just kind of walk you through everything that we are anticipating. But here it is. Talk about a impactful weather maker. This thing not affecting all of the lower 48, but a good portion of the lower 48. Satellite and radar, where you see the red boxes there in parts of East Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, now extended into parts of Louisiana too. That is a tornado watch. I believe that easternmost one right now in Arkansas and Louisiana, that tornado watch goes until 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. But let's just kind of give you the rundown of what we're expecting. I do want to talk about current conditions, just really quick kind of touch on that, show you exactly what we're working with as far as temperature, dew point, and we're going to talk about those gradient winds here in a second. Temperatures this morning, 40s and 50s out the door, and we've warmed up a lot. We are seeing some blue sky and peaks of sun that will only aid in our warming, forecasting our high temperatures today to be in the lower 70s, but we've got 50s and 60s already at the moment. Now, the air is still relatively dry. The dew point was in the 30s this morning, and it shows you how much moisture we're already getting just kind of brought up from the Gulf here, as our dew point is now in the 40s and 50s. Usually for any form of strong to severe storms, 60 is about a good number. Anything higher than that, you've got plenty of moisture to work with to fuel those storms. Now, these are the sustained winds, and this is the reason we're getting that warm air brought up as well. This is just your sustained wind, not a gust, but this is the actual, you walk outside and you're pretty much feeling this consistently. We've got that south-southeasterly wind right now, anywhere between 15 to 20 plus miles per hour. And then if you check out some of the forecast wind gusts that we've seen, I believe this graphic updates the highest gust it will add on right away, but then it keeps them there for about 15 minutes. Lawrenceburg, 33 mile per hour gust. Huntsville International, 30 mile per hour gust. Huntsville Executive there in Meridianville, 32 mile per hour gust. So this is pretty uniform, and this is going to progressively get worse and worse, and these winds will get stronger as we continue to go through the day. And Jeff, I show this graphic just about every morning because a lot of people want to know about the wind, but I don't think I've shown this graphic, and it's been just kind of off the charts there, kind of topping out the graphic as far as those forecast wind gusts this afternoon and evening in the blue there.
It's hard when the top of the bar gets higher than the actual bar itself. You can't go any higher. You got 47 there. But I think what happens is when you see this particular graphic, you say, well, if the winds top out near 50, this is just a snapshot of the actual forecast itself. It doesn't take much to have a few stronger gusts than this within what the forecast models are thinking. So like in between a 45 and a 47 between 4 and 7 p.m. could very easily be a 57 or a 67 as we go into the night tonight. We had that happen the night of February 15th when Eric and I were working together with those severe storms. Now there was a tornado element that night that's not really in play with this particular setup tonight. But we had a 75 mile per hour wind gust at the airport that night?
Yes, we did. And that was as the line came through. Now, there were some isolated tornadoes west of I-65 that produced some stronger winds, obviously, but a widespread straight line wind event. You're going to get a lot more trees falling down. The more trees that are coming down, the higher chance and likelihood that it falls on a power line. This is a look at actually one of the Barron models here showing those wind gusts anywhere from 35 to 45 miles per hour around 7 o'clock. And this is right before that line is going to start to move in. And we're going to continue to just kind of keep an eye on the latest timeline. Haven't made significant changes. If anything, we just kind of bumped it up just 1 hour earlier for those folks out west into parts of northwest Alabama. It's our latest storm arrival timeline. Not of those general winds, but the actual line of storms itself coming in. 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for you in Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale, as well as Lawrence, parts of Limestone County. Pretty quick moving line here this evening, probably moving about 50 to 60 miles per hour would be my guess, similar to what we saw with the February 15th there. Then we go more toward I-65, north central Alabama. You've got central, southern, middle Tennessee, so up there in Giles, Lincoln, Moore, parts of Franklin County, just the traffic triangle, as Jeff calls it, the metro areas, Athens, Decatur, out to Huntsville too. And then finally moving into northeast Alabama, closer to Sand Mountain, Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb counties there, 9 p.m. to midnight. So this is a later evening event. Yes, it is a work and school night, obviously. So maybe, you know, if you got a 9, 10 o'clock bedtime, this could be ongoing. It's not a true overnight event. But still, if you do have any plans of going to bed as this is unfolding this evening, we just stress more and more to have multiple ways to receive those warnings as they are issued. They could be severe thunderstorm warnings, and a lot of people tend to ignore those. But the wording on some of those severe thunderstorm warnings could be 70-plus mile per hour winds, and then you start getting into the tags by the Weather Service that maybe say considerable damage from these straight line winds, all possible.
Another aspect too, Eric talked about the potential for heavy rainfall, but he also talked about the potential of these storms moving very quickly from west to east. That should cut down on any kind of flash flooding for some of you. You were asking questions this morning about that. I thought that was really insightful, and that's something that's not really a concern is flash flooding, though it is going to be a pretty good soaker briefly across the area where some areas could pick up about an inch of rainfall. Thank you very much for putting that graphic up right when I was about to talk about it.
Very, very synchronized here.
Yeah. And so there's the element of heavy rainfall. It's just I don't think the storms are moving slow enough to present a problem in types of flooding for us tonight.
And we'll just kind of go through the hour-by-hour forecast, then we'll take a short break, just kind of recap everything. Of course, plenty of newscast and coverage coming as we go through the rest of the late morning, afternoon, evening hours. But we're going to skip forward to basically 1:30, and the model is already underplaying the temperatures. I don't think it factored in maybe some peaks of sunshine that have boosted our temperatures. We've got the cameras. I could see it behind me. You can't actively see it, but they're already starting to get a pretty good shake to it too. But if you just look at the hour-by-hour forecast, now we're dealing with the gradient winds. Here's 3:30. A lot of school districts have canceled their extracurriculars, the after-school plans and programs. Some schools are even dismissing early because you don't necessarily want those students out on school buses when you've got wind gusts potentially 50-plus miles per hour. That's almost a severe wind gust, but just with the general gradient wind. Now you start to see some initial showers popping up. And don't be fooled by these, especially those folks that live west of 65, saying, you know, everything's showing up a lot earlier than what they talked about. No, you'll have some rain initially, but the main feature that is coming in here is going to be right here. And we were talking about that thin band that is going to be the main wind maker right there. That line of storms all the way up into parts of western Kentucky, West Tennessee, and moving out of Mississippi. And you just continue to kind of play this out. Here's 8 o'clock now, which actually this run may be a touch slower, but we're still looking at kind of that 8 o'clock. You've got the initial bands of rain out in front of it, but that main line continues to swing through, and then it really speeds up right through the 10 o'clock hour. Now it's east of I-65, and once the strongest winds move out of your area, your severe weather threat is immediately over. Now, some of you may be without power when that actually happens, but at least the severe weather threat will be over. And then we get into the 11 to midnight hour. Everything's out into parts of north central, northwest Georgia, moving into far east Tennessee. And then just through the overnight hours, you'll have falling temperatures. Now, the wind will still be gusty, but we're going back to that gradient wind, not those storm-related winds, and it will be definitely a lot colder. 53 might be your 7 a.m. temperature, but it could realistically feel like upper 30s to low 40s when you factor in that wind chill. So we're going to take a quick 1-minute break. I want you to stay with us for Weather Extra, and then we'll go over a last look at your forecast for your first alert weather day coming up. All right, everyone, welcome back to Weather Extra. Meteorologist Jeff Desnoyers, meteorologist Eric Burke. Just talking a lot about the winds, what we're expecting this evening. This is Tuesday night, too, and the president is going to make an address this evening as well. And that will be, of course, right over our on-air channel, WAFF 48, as well as our streaming platforms. And some of you are probably wondering, well, you know, what do I do if these storms start to ramp up? Where do I find coverage? And Jeff, just the easiest way, you can find us on the WAFF Facebook page. Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis, he will have you covered this evening. He's been talking a lot about this on his social media platforms. Obviously, it could be a high-end wind event for a significant weather threat. And of course, we'll cut into programming as needed when we see fit, either a tornado warning or if we get some 70, 80 mile per hour winds, obviously that's warranted to cut into programming. But if you turn on the TV tonight and you hear the wind howling and just say, where are they? Just know you could always find us on our streaming platforms too. So wanted to put that out there. We're going to go back to the graphics though and just kind of show you the last of kind of what we're thinking. We'll put that timeline back up for you because that's an important graphic. Maybe you have plans this evening. Again, 6 to 9 p.m. for that first area in northwest Alabama, including you in Wayne County, Lawrence County, Tennessee too. 7 to 10 p.m. across I-65 north central Alabama, central southern middle Tennessee, and then finally towards Sand Mountain, 9 p.m. until midnight into Marshall, Jackson, DeKalb County. Primary focus with this will be those damaging wind gusts. You can see at the bottom of this graphic, 50 to 80 mile per hour winds. We are not ruling out tornadoes altogether. Just saying, I really think the better setup with this is going to be to our west and southwest, maybe a bit more instability and shear to tap into, but definitely a wind event. Heavy rainfall is a guarantee, probably picking up around 3/4 to an inch of rain. Not so much concerned about that flash flooding threat. Potential for some small hail, maybe even severe hail, 1 inch in diameter or larger. I think that greater concern would be areas west of I-65, as well as for that tornado threat. But just in general, everyone be weather aware this evening.
Yeah, I think the overall trend too, as you mentioned, when the storms first move areas west, that might be when they have the most punch too, coming across the state line. But just keep in mind, even if the storms are weakening as they move west to east, they're still going to pack a punch with very, very strong winds. And whether you have an 80 mile an hour wind gust or a 65 mile per hour wind gust, they both can still cause damage across the area.
And if I could find it, I want to show you this wind graphic. Again, these are going to be the initial winds that we already have outside, but this is using the model data here. These are your gradient wind gusts, so just the general wind, not associated with any storms. Just the difference between high and low pressure here. We've got these wind gusts on the model forecast to be 40+ miles per hour. So if you can, try and do yourself a favor when you're at home at some point today. Look in your front yard, your backyard, around your home. Find objects that could potentially blow around. When you have winds this strong, if it's a light object, that becomes a projectile, your garbage can, for example. Check on that patio furniture. Make sure that trampoline in your backyard is secured, because those are always an easy target when you have strong winds. But even the model is now putting out sub 50+ mile per hour winds, and that is substantial. So we have the potential of seeing trees down and power outages possible before that line of storms actually moves in. So those winds will stick with us, and then you go through the severe weather threat, and then into tomorrow morning, you still have wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. So a lot going on, a lot unfolding. Again, plenty of updates going as we go through the rest of the weekend. Just want to touch base really quick. Let Jeff walk you through your 10-day forecast, and we'll let you get on with the rest of your Tuesday.
Yeah, once the winds back off tomorrow, keep in mind they'll be persistent through the morning and early afternoon. It's a cooler and blusterier day. I use the term loosely at 55 degrees, but still a cooler day, and it will feel that way in the afternoon. Thursday, 53 and sunny, looks good. And then a little warmer on Friday. We got some showers on Saturday. Don't forget daylight saving time begins this weekend. Clocks will spring forward 1 hour, which means your sunset on Sunday will be closer to 7 p.m., but also means your sunrise will be after 7 a.m. And then we're so focused on the forecast for the immediate first alert weather day, but that next Monday, Tuesday, and I know there's some storms on Wednesday, but even the Thursday looks pretty good right now with some warm temperatures. Got to keep an eye on the following Wednesday, next Wednesday, for maybe another chance of some stronger storms, but that's a long way off.
Yeah, but those 70s lining up with a lot of students' spring break, too.
They sure
so you
are.
couldn't ask for a better forecast there. Mentioned daylight saving time, spring forward, change the batteries, smoke detectors, NOAA weather radios, carbon monoxide detectors, all the things around your home. Trying to figure out how to change the clock forward in your car is always a challenge. Certain devices and appliances, easier said than done. But we appreciate you guys joining us for Weather Extra. Jeff will be on Tennessee Valley Living with Peyton Walker, and the new newscast with Gina Benitez. And then Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis will have you covered later this evening. So have a great Tuesday. Stay weather aware, and just know it's going to get windy this afternoon before the storms roll in later tonight. Have a good day.